You are listening to the QFM. Manifest your reality.
When you open your focus, when you open your awareness, that's what creates coherence in the brain, because you're going against that habit of putting your attention on matter. So there's a convergent focus, which is focusing on matter, and then there's a divergent focus, which is focusing on energy. Well, reality is both particle and wave, matter and energy. So if a person can slow their brainwaves down from beta brainwaves to alpha brainwaves, now they're starting to fall out of their thinking brain right into the home of the autonomic nervous system.
Okay.
If the person can't change their brainwaves, it'll never work because they're in their neocortex in their thinking mind, right? So that's one thing that has to happen. The second thing that has to happen is that they have to practice both a convergent focus and a divergent focus.
So by the convergent, you're focusing on, let's say I'm going to focus on this energy center, right? And then you move your focus to another energy center.
Well, first you focus on that energy center, that's particle, and then you focus on the space around it, that's wave.
Okay.
And so when you open your awareness, and you're able to do that, and you're in your autonomic nervous system, you can put an intention there, which will create more balance in estrogen, more balance in your sexual organs. You move to your second center, you put your attention there. That's where you place your attention is where you place your energy. So now you're beginning to direct energy into that center. But now you become aware of the space around it. Why? To create coherence in that little brain. Send the coherent message to the cells and tissues. Go to your third center. Right in the pit of your gut. Well, there's a huge celiac plexus there, or solar plexus. A lot of connections in there. So now, put your attention.
That's a big one.
That's a big one.
Always getting a lot of signs there. Here and here. Heart and solar plexus.
Yeah, those are big ones. And you tune into that energy. Then you put your attention in your heart. It has its own individual brain. And when you make energy here, when energy finally arrives here, guess where it goes automatically? Straight up. We've measured it. So now once you start opening your heart, you get more energy in your heart, you get more energy in your brain.
Got it. Short on time, just go straight to the heart.
That's why we do it. That's exactly why that's why we open the heart. So it creates a field, and it begins to drive energy of the brain. So now that energy is going to cause the person to have a different consciousness, a different thought pattern, right? And now they're going to be thinking possibility, because in survival, the first three ones are all about survival. It's really not a creative process of creating from mind. It's more about a more primitive, humanistic part of us, animal part of us. So then there's the thyroid plexus, the pineal gland, the pituitary gland. So we've seen when people create coherence in each one of these energy centers, and they do it properly, they know how to change their brainwaves. They get into the operating system. They can master convergent and divergent focus. They're no longer living just this way. They've practiced opening their awareness and focus on energy, becoming conscious of it. And as these brains become more coherent and they start producing different signals to hormones and chemicals and to different glands in the body, that's what's being upregulated to make different expressions. We see things like colorectal cancer change, prostatic enlargement, prostatic cancer, impotence, diverticulitis, uterine tumors, acid reflux, food allergies, high liver enzymes, heart palpitations, arrhythmias.
Pretty much anything.
Yeah, well, each one that's related. A lot of Hashimoto's syndrome, thyroid conditions.
Oh, so they're related to an energy center.
Each one of these are an energy center. That's what.
And they hold the information for, let's say, diverticulitis, or they hold the energy for.
Well, why is the cells and tissues and organs functioning out of balance? So you can't control that with your conscious mind. You got to get beyond your conscious mind and stay conscious in your subconscious mind. And that's what we do when we slow our brainwaves down. But we don't want just any kind of brainwaves. We want coherent brainwaves. So then there's a coherent message to the cells and tissues.
One of the things that I do when I meditate, which I don't do nearly enough, but I try and do as much as possible, is I breathe into each of those energy centers and just feel for resistance, feel for tension. If there is, then I breathe some more. It's not probably nearly a thorough enough process, but I can intuitively feel where there is some resistance, and then I breathe into it. Also, interestingly enough, I don't know what you know about crystal bowls and alchemy and sound healing, and if that's something you've ever explored, but I went and did a session where I chose the bowls, and I had no idea until I was done that the bowls, they have their own notes. And when I listened to the bowls to pick them, because it was like a 2-hour intuitive process, and I would close my eyes and she would play the bowl, and I could literally tell you, I was like, whoa, my heart's like on fire. Like it related, since it is a note, musical note, it related to an energy center. And that is exactly how it works. I'm like, wow, I can feel exactly where it's hitting.
Right.
And fascinating.
And your awareness contributes to that, because as you become aware of those energy centers, what you're actually doing is you're entraining that center to a harmonic of that frequency. And these are called hormones for a reason, because you can begin to harmonize them. And we do that. We practice. We have, I think, 8 now different energy center meditations that we do. That's an evolution of the last one. And we teach people how to program them, how to create more harmony in them. How to, and we see a lot of changes in their health.
Can you explain epigenetics?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of touched on epigenetics. Epi meaning above, genetics meaning gene. So it's not the gene, it's the signal outside of the cell, right? So again, epigenetics means that there's some environmental signal that's actually conditioning this, or selecting and instructing different genes. So, but here's the thing. And people will say, well, it's the environment, but I lived in a great environment. But again, if they're living by certain emotions that keep them connected to the past, the environment we're talking about is not the environment out there. It's the environment around the cell. So the person's living in the same emotional state, or the same, let's just say toxic state, because it could be chemical too. If you keep exposing the cell to the same state of chemistry, that cell, of course, then is going to weaken. So the emotion is that thing. So you have 2 factory workers working side by side in the same plant, both exposed to asbestos, a carcinogenic chemical. One gets cancer and the other doesn't. Now, why is that? Because it's the internal environment, right, around the cell that's different than the other person there.